up? All right, great. And when I look over, I'm looking at, just so everybody is aware, for those participating on Zoom, we have the computer screen projected in the courthouse room. For those of you who are not aware, we're holding this town hall both in the courthouse, in the courtroom in the courthouse, as well as virtually, which we anticipate always being an option for many reasons, one of which is that we then have an easy recording and y'all can share and go back to the meeting. So good afternoon, everyone. Let's see, May 27th here, 6 p.m. We are holding a town hall to discuss the issue of county manager. We are gonna do a little bit of housekeeping again, and ask you for some grace while we try this hybrid, having a full room here in person and on Zoom. So I think we're going to do our best to be a little bit more measured, even as all of us will have to mute and unmute our computers so that everyone can hear and participate equally. Let's see. We will have a timer going and we have notes. And again, we need to pull up some public comment on email, and each of us have our Zoom going on our computers here. So let's see, we have our first, sorry, how many participants do we have on Zoom? We have 21 participants on Zoom. We have a full courthouse room. The parameters of the meeting usually go about an hour for town halls. We ask for a little bit of flexibility and grace as we navigate the technical side of things here. Let's see, so we have, all right, so the town hall here on the topic of county manager is meant to prompt some discussion and thought of the board. We ask that you are welcome to come up and make comments. For folks in the room, if you'd come up to the front here and state your name and make comment, and those of you on Zoom as well, if you'd raise your hands, we do have staff doing our best to monitor those who would like to comment on the Zoom room. The intention will be to do our best to go between comments from the courtroom and move to our virtual participants for comments. Let's see, we ask that you limit those to 3 minutes or less, but I suspect that we might have, they might be even shorter as you will have a chance to go through, and this is more interactive than just submitting public comment at any regular meeting. Let's see. And so we'll start the meeting with a little bit of a presentation on how we got here, what we've heard from the community, and what the status is, where we're at, and what we will, we anticipate moving forward in the process of recruitment and hiring for a county manager. All comments, I will have to add, which is helpful, I believe, need to be directed to the board, please. And let's see, we will then, okay, so we'll have our presentation 8 to 10 minutes. Our presentation will be about 8 to 10 minutes, and we'll take 35 minutes or so for the round robin and the open conversation. And at the end, the board will be about 3 or 5 minutes in just some final wrap up thoughts and summaries. Jeff, would you like to take us through the beginning here?
You mute.
Very good.
Unmute. So let me then go back. to the actual presentation. Okay, is that working now? People can hear me and my presentation or the presentation is up? Excellent, okay. I'll try to go through this relatively fast to leave as much time as possible. There we go. So I just want to start off and since we're talking about a new position in the county, talk about how the county is currently organized and run. We have the Board of County Commissioners, that's the three of us elected officials. We also have 5 offices or departments that are run by independent elected officials. That's the clerk and recorder, the sheriff, the assessor, the treasurer, and the coroner. And then there are quite a number of departments. I won't list them all out, but public works, finance, building and land use, departments that you interact with. Everyone on this slide is on the county payroll and paid for out of the county budget. And one point I wanted to make here is that the three of us as commissioners kind of wear 2 hats in the operation of the county. We serve sort of above this red line as the official Board of County Commissioners with statutory duties and responsibilities as elected officials, but then we also serve this day-to-day kind of administration role below the line. Each of us directly manages several departments individually. And I just think that's important to note that again, our time is split between those 2 duties above and below the red line. I'll observe as a new commissioner, just about 4 months on the job. I'd say about 1/3 of my time is sort of below the line activities. So maybe just quickly, some of the things the BOCC does above the red line, as the board is approve the budget. We enter into agreements, say with the city, as we jointly run the fire department. We make changes to zoning, to the land code. I mean, it's a long list of duties, but it's kind of the more of those big picture, formal actions, as well as kind of policy direction setting versus more, day to day, like annual performance reviews of the department directors on these 11 departments. And the reason I go into that is just so this red box is where the county manager will sit. He will sit on that red line. He or she, sorry. The intent of this position is really to take on a lot of that day-to-day role of the direct management of the departments that aren't headed by independent elected officials. And just to go into this a little bit more, sorry, there's a lot of words on here. And this will be part of the recorded presentation, but I think one key point is that county manager sitting in that red box reports directly to the board, to the 3 commissioners, and would end up being the board's sole employee, direct report, sorry. The manager would take on, those day-to-day line management, sort of routine implementation of what's in the budget, implementing what's in the budget, implementing what's been set as policy priorities by the board. And a key sort of responsibility, I think, an area of sort of judgment and discretion of the county manager will be to decide when things need to come before the board, the commissioners as a whole. Some things legally have to, but there's a lot of discretion in terms of, when are you operating within the guidance given by the board? When do you need to bring something to vote on and make sure, the will of the voters is really reflected in what you're doing. And, another intent of the position is to free up our time. Again, in my experience, it's about 1/3 of my, week on, week out time, free up time to focus on more of the policy setting, bigger picture direction that the board does. Come on, computer. So to get into a little background on county managers in Colorado, this is a map of the Colorado counties. The counties in red, 8 of them, currently do not have a county manager. The vast majority of counties in the state have someone in that county manager position. And then I think it's interesting to just rank those counties by population. I mean, I think somewhat understandably, it's the much smaller counties that don't have them. Here is Lake ranked in there at 8,000. Denver is kind of an outlier because the city and the county have the same political jurisdiction boundary. They sort of have a different governance model. But I would make the case that we are, somewhat of an outlier in the state of Colorado in not having a professional staff county manager. Also, in our particular case, we've received a really great support from DOLA, the Department of Local Affairs, with this cost share, 75% of the cost in year one, then 50, then 25%, as well as a significant amount of sort of indirect support in hiring, helping us think through the structure of the position, helping attract good candidates, and implementation as well. Also, I don't want to point fingers at any individual for sure, but we have tried to have a county manager. We have had a county manager in the county before, as recently as 5 years ago. And I think there's some lessons learned about how to make this position work well for us. First is to get really clear on how this county manager in place will change the role of the board, the role of department directors, and what their role is. And not just agree up front, but actually stick to that agreement and not just revert to old habits of how the county gets run. And then third is just to hire the best person we can, the most professional, qualified person we can into that position and set them up for success in terms of, staff, support from the board, support from the department directors. Some criticisms that we've heard and taken on board for this new position. And first of all, cost. This will be the highest paid staff, non-elected person in the county. It's a very senior position, and that cost is real. As I said, we have the cost share. In my view, I came off the school board. The school district has about the same size budget. The superintendent, who is the staff person reporting to the school board, makes a similar salary. The salary that we're proposing is what we think is needed to attract a professional person that will be successful. Another criticism is, yes, this is an additional layer of bureaucracy. This is going to require, making the reporting, flow of information work in a different way than we've been used to the last several years. It will remove that day-to-day conversation between the directors of departments and the commissioners in terms of day-to-day implementation. We can discuss whether that's a good or a bad thing. And then also we've heard that this vests a lot of authority in a non-elected position. That's true. I would say it vests a lot of responsibility in this person to be a good, have good judgment, good experience, and be a good conduit between the departments and the BOCC. As I said, this person is directly overseen by the commissioners. And, in my view, the accountability flows from the voters through us to that person. They serve at will. And then finally, just, change is hard. This will be a significant change that needs to be managed well. Just want to wrap up with a couple thoughts from, I think, our perspective of why we think the advantages sort of outweigh some of the cost and some of the challenges. One is just bringing in an experienced professional in local government operation to be a consistent source of management for the department directors. Right now, they are managed by elected officials who do not necessarily come from that background. They're also managed by different people. Each department is, the departments are shared across the three of us. And even if we try, we will manage people differently. And there will be sort of inconsistent treatment of different departments. We also hope that, I think it is, there have been cases, and I'm guilty of it too, where we get a little bit too micromanagey on the departments that we oversee. And that is not our role as elected officials, as commissioners. I think our role is to stay above that red line and chart the course on some of the big issues facing the county. I also think, having that county manager in place who, as commissioners come and go every 2-year election cycle, it will introduce a certain level of continuity of how departments are managed and what the priorities are. I know, for example, I came in and I managed the library. There are a number of projects they have underway that I didn't know anything about, and it's not clear, it's a big change for the library whether I will continue to, support and care about those or manage them well. So I think that continuity of having a county manager to smooth out the transitions as boards of county commissioners come and go. Why? Excuse me. What is this? Okay, thanks. I also think it will, I think I touched on some of this, it'll improve the sort of continuity and consistency, not just of how the departments are managed, but also, the continuity and consistency of how issues are brought to the board and bring them forward. And I mentioned at the beginning that, my experience, about 1/3 of my time is on this day-to-day below the red line work. And I think freeing up that time for the BOCC to pay attention to things such as, the state legislature's in session right now. There are a number of bills, transportation funding, tidying up SB 217 on body cams and law enforcement reform, the affordable housing. There are many bills that we have a big stake in. Freeing up our time to, weigh in on those, I think would be a better use of our time representing the interests of the county. We represent the county at a lot of regional planning bodies and funding bodies. CDOT has regional planning meetings that we represent the county at. Council of Governments in the Upper Arkansas, there's quite a long list of places where we need to be at the table, with these regional planning and funding bodies, or working with neighboring counties to, to advance our interests and make sure that, the rules and funding priorities help us. We also could spend more time, actually getting out to community meetings and talking one-on-one with communities or neighborhoods about their interests. We have a lot of other political jurisdictions, in the county. The city, the hospital is its own district, sewer and water are their own districts. The school district, we have a lot of areas of cooperation or areas where we need to work together, and we should be, at those tables working cooperatively with them. And then finally, I ran on trying to address things like affordable housing, how to handle incoming growth. And I think we should be spending more of our time thinking about those things and less time doing day-to-day management of the individual departments. So that is the background. And I'll, let me turn. Sorry,
Thank you,
it's like fighting me to get to that.
Before we open up to comments, we do have a few public comments to read. And then we will ask the room, anyone from the room, to come up. Before we open up for public comments, we'll read some public comments that we have received, and then I will ask anyone in the room to raise your hand and come up, and then we will alternate and continue the conversation. Does anyone have any questions? And also just to double check that we are
$5,000.
school board members?
Yes.
School board members serve as volunteers.
Oh, okay. And when we get a county manager, we're going to turn it into a volunteer position on the commissioners.
About the process. Can you have a question about that?
You mentioned shared costs for the position, Joe.
Oh, just, sorry, to be clearer, does anyone have any questions on how we are going to go about the meetings? Attempt to. And or if there are any improvements with how it is going so far, and I'll look at the screen at the virtual participants for any comments so far. I think it's going fine. Amin, thank you as staff for putting us down and making sure that we unmute. Please unmute.
All right,
Yes, question.
there we go. Okay.
a
All right, we are gonna read a couple of letters into the record that we received that were requested of us to read. And then I will open it up to the courtroom and we will alternate comments and questions to the board.
Before you get started to that, we haven't had a community forum like this in the courthouse in over 14 months. And you're allowing us just 3 minutes? How come we couldn't have 5 or so?
Well, I think that naturally the questions is more of a dialogue and for the board to respond. So people will have more than one turn to ask questions. So if we could limit this so that we respect the time that everyone's taking to be here, and so we don't go on for hours and hours. We will definitely, I should say too, the intention from this board is to host more town halls as we move into through this year and through projects and priorities, because there is a great deal going on that we need community outreach and education on, and we need to be able to add as many platforms as possible to continue that communication with the community. So the first letter, let's see. We have a comment from Gabby Voller. She says, "Dear commissioners, please do not be deterred by community members that think we should not have a county manager position. This is an essential job that will help our county deliver high quality services to its residents. When politics and leadership are separated from the administrative functions of the county, everyone benefits. Having this position will allow our elected officials to spend more time crafting policy and meeting with residents and stakeholders to more deeply understand the needs and issues. The day-to-day management of the county departments will then be done by a professional administrator, someone with training on budgets, management, and human resources. Management is done better when left to a professional than done by politicians. There is more accountability and we don't have the whipsaw of politics changing management decisions and styles every time there is an election. As our community faces even more complex issues, affordable housing, economic development, water issues, to name a few, a county manager is a step in the right direction. Please hold course. Respectfully, Gabby Bowler, 124 West 8th Street. Okay, our next one. Looking for. Let's see. Okay, our next one comes from Keith Moffitt. Given the right person with the needed skill set is hired, the daily affairs of the county business is better managed by such a person than by 3 commissioners who are only around for 4 to 8 years and no continuity as they roll off the board. Lake County is growing and more people will come live here and travel to see us. We need a skilled person to manage the county's day-to-day affairs and let the commissioners look at longer range planning and policy. Just my thoughts, Keith. And finally, we have comments from Craig Stoller. We've heard the concerns before. I'm guessing they are the same as they've always been. Frankly, I've no desire to hear it all once more. To those that say no to a county manager, I say go away. We have had county managers in the past, Kent Hager and Kathy Patty. We have had an EDC executive director act in a quasi-judicial, quasi-county position, regardless of who the person was, regardless of who the person was, how competent they may have been, or how much authority they may actually have had. I can state unequivocally that things simply work better when a dedicated, knowledgeable person given proper authority and autonomy unburdened by the need to respond to an electorate, manages the day-to-day affairs of Lake County administration and management. That's it. Unusually brief for me. That's how clear and obvious this matter is. All right, and those are all the public comments that were submitted to us and requested to read for the record. With that, I will ask for a, Patty, did we have a sign-in sheet go around at all? Is that it? There is a sign-in sheet up here, and if you, oh, it did not go around. All right. Let's pull that around, and as that's getting filled out, I will ask if anyone in the room, would you like?
I can take that question. That was.
Sure. Would you?
So
do you want
yeah,
me to take that?
so the question, which is totally legitimate, I think is okay. Sorry, I made the comparison between the school district and the superintendent, and the county manager position. It is true that the school board is volunteer and unpaid. I guess I would say, having served on the school board and as county commissioner, first of all, I think school board members are severely underpaid and put in a ton of work on a purely volunteer basis. But more substantively, I think the school district, running a school district is a big job, but I think the county has many other issues that it makes policy on and implements. The school district, the county runs jointly with the city a fire department. We fund the sheriff's office. We develop zoning and process building permits. We enter into negotiations with neighboring counties. I think there's a lot more on the plate of a county. With all respect to the school district, I think that is a smaller set of tasks, both in statute and sort of day-to-day, that the school board takes on there compared to what the county is addressing.
Okay. Thanks. All right, having fielded that first question from the room, I'll go to the Zoom participants and see if there are any questions from the virtual room. Just a moment. We're asking the. Bear with us. All right. I don't think that I see any folks on virtual at the moment. Okay. I see John Wells.
Sarah?
How do we choose to speak if we're on Zoom? Chat's disabled, so we can't enter a request to speak. How do we do that? You're muted, Sarah.
Oh, sorry, John. Kelly, would you like to?
Are we allowed to make a comment or only?
I mean, is that because the
Can you hear me?
speaker is off?
Oh. Can you hear me now? I had this problem. It shows me speaking, but you can't hear me? Okay. Am I allowed to make a comment or only ask a question?
Either, Kelly.
Okay. I just wanted to say, in the last year, I have been absolutely amazed at the number of meetings that the commissioners are attending. I attend fire planning board meetings. I attend Office of Emergency Management Security Council meetings. I attend LACOSI meetings, and I attend the meetings on the fire station as well as the town halls. And we have had commissioners at 8 of our 9 meetings for Friends of Twin Lakes since the pandemic began. And these are times where they're showing up for our meetings after hours when they should be able to enjoy time with their families, or on Saturday mornings. I have been so impressed with all the cats, if you will, that the commissioners juggle, and so sad that they don't have a city manager to assist them so that they can be more productive in actually pushing things forward for our county. In addition, it's been evident to me, and I'm not saying I have institutional knowledge, but when I find out something after the fact, you need a person there that has institutional knowledge and has stability. So it doesn't matter when you change elected official, you've got someone there that is consistent for the morale of your county staff and consistent for service to the public, so that we're not starting from square one. And I'm sorry, but I feel very, very strongly about this. I don't have a question other than how come it's taken so long?
Thanks, Amit. Yes, meetings have not stopped. In fact, our schedules are scheduled back to back to back without walking to meetings or driving to meetings, and down to the second. We still attend regional meetings, still have to keep track of contracts and timelines, and all of those things are happening while continuing to organize new efforts and initiatives such as wildfire planning that Kelly has been a part of. Any other comments from the board before I go to the room for another question? Okay. All right. First, we have Bill Collins.
Yeah, I was going to ask a question, but I have to make a comment. I'm trying to understand, and tag along on his question. I'm trying to understand, this is the first time I've been in the meeting, so I'm going to try to be as correct as I can be. I'm trying to understand, number one, why we have not had community settings like this till now, and why, when we do have it, we're limited to 3 minutes. And my second tag log on that is that I have tried working with 2 commissioners. One of them, I'm in his district, and I have yet to get a call or anybody that wants to try to see where I'm leading and work with me on the information that I've been attaining the last 6 months. And I'm just wondering if the commissioners have trouble doing their jobs, how is the city manager and more money that this county, I'm sure, is having enough trouble to pay out, is going to pay for somebody that's going to be a manager?
Did everybody hear that question? Okay. All right. Commissioner Fiedler.
Yeah, well, we're just trying to stumble over our mute buttons here. So on the 3-minute, the intent of this was that we will go through this list. You have more than one opportunity. We're trying to have this as a little bit more of a discussion than the pretty stilted way that hearings or more formal BOCC meetings happen. So we're trying this out. If you don't like it, we'll change it up. But we're not trying to shut anyone down. We're just trying to have the questions not turn into super long speeches and give everyone a shot at us. And
why haven't we had meetings?
yeah, I will also apologize again to you, as I did on the COVID Zoom call, for not returning your call promptly. My understanding is you've had quite a few discussions with public health and with other commissioners. We discussed that on the COVID Zoom call. Again, apologize for not getting back to you fast.
The third was, what was your third question? Repeat that.
That you want a manager, okay? And the commissioners right now that have not worked with me, and I'm wondering how I've not been able to have this forum like you tonight. How come you're asking the county to pay a certain amount more money a year for somebody else because you can't do all your job? Why don't we pay you guys if you can't do the whole job?
It's really hard to explain all of the, well, I'll do my best. Here is a great example. There is nothing that some people think is more important in this county than the water and the water rights. Do you know that that information is left to be held in the head of any elected official that has come in and is leaving? There is no dedicated staff person to manage this, and we aim to change that. One, it takes a long time to develop the relationships and understand all the parties at play and the people that you need to be talking to read the documents, to understand timelines.
I find out a lot of times you're not in your office, but you're supposed to be during the week. And when somebody calls like me and leaves a message, nobody calls back. And that gentleman did apologize for that. But do you see where the county's going with this? You're not there in your office when we need you to be there.
Well, sir, I do have my cell phone on my voicemail of my phone at my desk. So you're welcome to call that number anytime. Doing this job doesn't mean sitting behind a desk. It means talking to people. It means being on Zoom calls. And it means meeting people. I've met people in Ice Palace Park over the last few months as it's getting nicer. I'm happy to meet with anyone, and I know that my fellow commissioners are happy to do the same. And attending other regional meetings and organizing other meetings as well has been going on. So I'm sorry that you don't see that from behind a desk, but it takes many different forms. To my fellow commissioners, yeah.
So as we've been talking with a number of other counties, so there are many other counties where the county commissioners don't have offices. They literally don't have a physical office. I just sort of want to point that out, that I do not think it is an expectation. We do, yeah. We're actually just, as we were on a space, we're discussing whether we should give those up to house, departments by elected officials or, other incoming staff. So we're getting that on one side, and then the other that we need to be in our offices 24/7, so just.
The other thing, sir, I'd like to note is that we have had children at home, and I only got my second vaccination 3 weeks ago. So I am doing my diligence. I have parents at high risk that live in the community and other family, and I have kids that are coming home after being at school, and I don't want to put anybody else at risk either. So that's been my line of thinking. All right. I think not having any other response, Commissioner Marcella?
No, I just think it's important to echo what Jeff had said. We've really done a lot of due diligence and taken our time in understanding how this works. Oh, sorry. Okay. I just wanted to echo what Commissioner Fiedler had said, that we've really done our due diligence in understanding how this works in other communities. And it is not us inventing the wheel, because this is done very well in other jurisdictions, and it is very common for commissioners in other counties, Summit, Chaffee, Clear Creek, San Miguel, where their commissioners don't have offices and meet commonly with constituents on their turf, because it allows for the meeting to be more productive in their location. And so for a more genuine conversation. So it's something that we, as we move further into this implementation, it's something that we will consider definitely.
And, oh yeah.
Tina,
Thank you. All right, we'll go to the virtual participants. Is there anyone who would, I see hands up. Steve, would you please give us your name and please make your comment or question?
Absolutely. My name is Stephen Wama, and after carefully listening to that gentleman in the forum there, I appreciate what his question was, and I think that maybe we should look at it in another direction. I think, you know, I work for the VA hospital currently, and when we had COVID happen, we had to have somewhat of a continuity between upper management and an elected official at that hospital to be able to understand what's happening below in regards to other departments. And we have several departments that fall below him, but he can't handle all of those departments at one time. And so I think that if the gentleman thinks about it, if you have 3 commissioners, but if you look at the categories, we have human resources, the library, waterworks, other departments that fall underneath each commissioner. The commissioner doesn't have that much time to look and manage every single department. And I think that a bridge is needed, and a bridge should be there in place so that, first of all, the people that are below the commissioner in those departments could be heard, but also the commissioner can understand what's going on in his departments and bridge the gap so that the county manager can come forward, discuss things in regards to what's happening in a certain department, and come up with, if there's needed a vote from the commissioners, or if a matter needs to be brought forth through the committee, that it can be brought forth representing not just the people who work in that department, but at least understand that there are people that are below, and there are certain levels that they're all heard. And as a fellow veteran, I think that it's best, as a lower enlisted at the time, I wanted to be represented. But there are times where you have to have sergeants, lieutenants, and then go up. And I think that this is what people should look at it as. It's a bridge to go and be heard by other people, so that the person who's sweeping the floors, or we'll say that they're they're a janitor at the local school level, they're represented. And I think that's what we need, is somebody to bridge that gap so that we can represent all people, not just a certain type of people, or people who have been elected, but then they don't know what everything that's occurring below them. So I just wanted to mention that, and I thought that the question with that gentleman was a good question, and I posed to the committee. But also, I think if keep an open mind and think of what I just said, I think that we need that bridge to help the continuity of government to run more smoothly. And I think in the past, sounds like you've had a lot of issues and a bad taste in people's mouth in regards to past county managers. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Steve, will you state your address for us, please, and your name again?
My name is Stephen Wamhoff, Wamhoff, and my address is 471 Oakland Street, Oakland Street, and that's in Aurora, Colorado. And the reason why I'm attending is because I love your town. I've been looking at joining the community. So.
Like guys,
They were. Okay. And with Kim Jackson, would you like to make a comment or question, Kim, and could you come up if you can, show us through?
The speaker's there.
Oh,
Thanks, Kim.
yeah. I just want to thank you guys for your time and for offering this meeting. And Kimberly Jackson, 1428 County Road 4.
Thank you.
And I just want to echo the comments of everyone who's been in support of the county manager position. And I do believe that it'll provide more continuity and institutional knowledge, which I think is very necessary. I'm currently in studies getting my bachelor's in business leadership management, and you're always, a strong organizational structure for any successful business is run the same exact way. And as you can see, we're kind of on the outskirts, we want, all the other counties, like we said, there's only 8 in Colorado that don't have county managers. And I appreciate you guys stepping up and, caring about the future of our community. I believe that county commissioners' positions need to be more visionary so that we secure a financial future for Lake County. And I do think that city manager is more of an investment, or county manager is more of an investment than it is not. Thank you for your time. One of my questions is, you mentioned the, I think you said a shared structure, pay structure.
With Lola.
So if you could maybe elaborate on that. And then I also request that, the process as it continues be transparent, and I'd really like to meet those candidates.
Thank you, Kim. Okay, so your question is on that shared cost structure with DOLA. So the Department of Local Affairs has an opportunity for jurisdictions to share the cost of this management position because they believe that it is so important. So we have been awarded that grant, and that means that DOLA will share the cost of the salary for the first 3 years of this position, 50%. The first year will be covered, 75% of the salary will be covered by DOLA, 25% by the county. The second year it will be 50-50, and the third 25-75. Let's see, your second question, Kim, I didn't get to write it down as fast as you. Oh yeah, the recruitment process, absolutely. The school board and the hospital has done a fantastic job, I think, in sharing that process with the community, and we believe that that's our thought, to follow those along those same lines, and have open houses and forums for not only staff to meet these folks and any final applicant pool, but the public as well. Any other additions to? Okay. And if there are no other comments for Kim in the room, I'll go back to the virtual participants, and John Wells.
Thank you.
John, would you give your name and address?
I wanted to express my support for a county commissioner. Each of the 3 county commissioners that are currently serving, and many of the prior ones, before they were elected, I met with them to ask them about their support for a county manager and encourage them to do so. So I was very encouraged when I sat down with each of these commissioner candidates. They spoke in favor to me about working to bring a county manager into Lake County. I also think that if we had a county manager, we would very likely have a revenue producing water source in Lake County. We have water rights. but unfortunately, the lack of continuity developing those water rights has been quite slow. For a business to locate in Lake County outside of Parkville Water District, we need to be able to get them water. And right now, there's no way for that to happen. And so I think developing water rights is a huge issue for our county. And a county manager, I think, would be very key in making that happen. People may complain about not having a chance to talk to commissioners, or they're slow to respond. I've been in many meetings this year with county commissioners, and sometimes they're late and sometimes they miss the meeting because they're addressing a personnel issue in one of the departments that they're managing. If we had a county manager to take over that role, they could be out talking to community members like Mr. Collins. And so I think that would really help with that issue. So there's lots and lots of reasons to have a county commissioner, and I want to applaud the county commissioners. I've worked with them a lot in this past year with the business community, and they have put in hours and hours, you know, after the regular 9 to 5. And so I really appreciate all they've done. Thank you.
Thank you, John. All right, and next on the list, we have Dan Houchins. Would you like to speak? Okay. Yeah, sorry, we don't have a list here that says whether or not you want to speak. All right, Tracy Lauritsen.
Tracy Lauritsen, 609 East 7th Street. I'd just like to support a decision to hire a county manager. I believe that this board that we currently have is one of the best boards that I've ever seen since I moved to Lake County over 15 years ago. They're incredibly competent. They're earnest in their desire to make our county a better place. They're fiscally on top of things. And I have no doubt that if we did not have a county manager, they would continue to do a great job. But I would like them to be doing the job that a politician and the commissioner should be doing, which is set policy, look forward to our issues that are going to be coming up in the future, and not putting out little brush fires everywhere and missing meetings and things like that because they don't have somebody to step in and follow that continuity. So I totally support having a county manager. And I also believe that if you get a good county manager, they will find the financial resources and be fiscally conservative enough to pay for their own job. Because these guys don't have time to be counting pennies and looking through everything that somebody is doing. That county manager will have an opportunity to do that. So I have no doubt that this is a good decision, both financially and for big government. Thank you.
All right. Jamie Cipher, would you like to speak?
Yes. Thank you to the Board of County Commissioners for having this town hall. I want to speak in support of you hiring a manager. I think it's been great that you've been talking about this for years. It's been a plan for a while, and that we're finally doing it. I think especially given the number of other counties that have used this, I appreciate that the board is regularly using tools that have been tried and tested very successfully by other counties just to get the job done. this includes the county commissioner, but also includes things like a 3-minute time limit at public meetings. If all of us had 5 minutes or 7 minutes, this meeting would take years. There's already a ton of us. 3 minutes is enough to give our time. So I appreciate you letting us do all of that. And yeah, I think it's also especially generous of you to think about what is happening with your office spaces, because like you said, you're out in the community so much talking to folks. Maybe it doesn't make sense to have office space. And I think it's cool that that is something you're considering. So good work. I hope you find a great hire for this county manager, and I support you fully. Thank you.
Jamie, we did not have the audio running in time at the very beginning. Would you please rename or restate your name and address for us?
Sure. I actually forgot to do that. So that was me, not you. My name is Jamie Cipher. I live at 1300 Harrison here in Leadville.
Thank you.
I didn't do it either. This is John Wells, 1843 Silver Eagle Circle, Leadville, Colorado.
Come on up.
That's what the neighbors call.
On East 8th. I don't go by it, but that's what they call me. And my gripe is the bicycle people. I'm in a situation where they're coming up. We didn't get Boom Days, we didn't get 4th of July parade, but they get close to 13 races. And I want to know where all the money's going, because they bought all the property on 6th Street, and they bought the Climax projects that came down in 1962. And they paid 1.5 for it, and they're going to clear that out. Where all these people going to go? And then they're going to try and pull our parking signs because of the bike race and the running race. And they're sending out notices on notification on, well, we did do something for the avenue. Well, we got a business on my street that doesn't even be there because he didn't go by the rules. And everybody else is ticked off about it too, just like I am. We've all gone by the rules. I got a sign in front of my house that's 1968. And they want to snatch them saying they're illegal. Denver's doing it. And you guys, and they're all comparing us to Denver. So what the heck? I want to know what the true answer is. They're not illegal. We've been paying on them since 68, so we're grandfathered in. So where are they coming up with this BS about it's illegal?
Dan, you brought this issue up with the city.
I know.
That is their jurisdiction.
I
We
know.
actually don't
I know. But
monitor
see,
or manage any of the parking within the city limits.
I rest my
That's
case.
council's
You're all washing your hands again.
All right, we'll go to virtual then. Marla Ackridge.
Commissioners, thank you for this town hall this evening. I live at 304 East 5th Street here in Leadville. That's 304 East 5th Street, Leadville, Colorado. I'm the executive director of the Leadville Lake County Economic Development Corporation. And in my 21 years of working in economic development in rural communities that truly are smaller than Lake County, I have always communicated and worked and collaborated and been like my next right hand, a county manager. My question tonight, and I know the answers too, my question is, how did you formulate the number for the salary and the research for the salaries of commissioners? And I know from a national survey and working in a smaller community than this city and county population, that the county manager made 128,000. That's not including benefits. And the commissioners made 80,000, and it wasn't including benefits. But the average I know is 243,000, and the rural median average is 125. How did you formulate that number? And the other comment I have is county commissioners set policy, set levies. They work with local, state, federal government entities to find out how we can impact the smart growth and work through the logical processes of economic development and community development in Lake County. the county manager does, like Jeff's slides, the day-to-day operations. And that's critical because we have to have that a balanced growth process because of the opportunities that will happen here. But I would like my questions. My address is 304 East 5th Street. Thank you. Thanks for what you're doing. And I support the economic, I truly support having a county manager to work with.
Hey, Marla, this is Kayla. Thanks, excuse me, for your question. For the salary formula, I had reached out to Colorado Counties Incorporated, and they had put me in contact with several county commissioners that are also members of Colorado Counties. And through that pooling of information and local jurisdictions like the hospital district, the school district, the Leadville Lake County Economic Development Corporation came up with that salary number of up to $110,000 annually for a salary. When I was working on the grant application with our DOLA representative, Christy Dune, she felt as though that was a justifiable number for that position. And sorry, and part of the reason is that you get what you pay for. And so we felt like going through that process and filling out that grant application and her experience of filling this position in other communities, that would be a number that would be justifiable for us to recruit and retain the talent that we need to make this implementation successful. Yeah, I think I'll just add on to that a little bit as well, Marla. We're categorized as a Category 4 county in the state of Colorado, and our commissioner salaries are set by state statute. So we are required to be paid from the state what they tell us we will get paid. All elected positions.
My name is Ken Olson. I live at 1833 Silver Eagle Court. I'd like to express that I have a confidence crisis with regard to Lake County Commissioners. The following items are components of why I lack confidence in our leadership. I believe the commissioners are further distancing themselves from the public. Continuation of meetings almost exclusively by Zoom. Lack of presence in the courthouse, volume of special meetings that are held, and lack of evening meetings to allow people who work all day to have at least some public input to the commissioners. Significant decisions being made with a lack of requests for input. No notice of these actions. For example, the swimming pool closure. We worked awfully hard. A lot of people poured their heart and soul into the swimming pool. And now, similar to Boilergate at the hospital, all of a sudden it's broken and it's deemed not salvageable. What a loss to this county. What efforts were made to get grant funding to fix it? We did that. Why can't you do that? This board is not taking care of what little we have left. When I left 10 years ago in your office, we had a running asphalt plant, bleachers at the 6th Street Gym and rodeo grounds, an up-to-date working swimming pool, had a functioning jail. We don't now. Decisions are being made to hire a county manager. I don't believe the bulk of the citizens are behind that effort. I do not wish for a non-elected dictator. All 3 commissioners were elected based on your stated abilities to run and govern the county. Now it appears that you have lost confidence in yourselves to do that. You want to take taxpayer money and have someone else do your job. If you do not have confidence in doing your job you ran for, then you should resign and let someone else try. Here's from Monday's special meeting agenda that you have so little confidence in your abilities that you were contracting out and wasting taxpayer dollars in doing so to hire a consultant to hire a county manager. It makes me wonder what you have real confidence in doing on your own. And it costs the county taxpayers about $82,000 a year for each commissioner for your positions. You know, and if you go ahead and proceed, which appears you've already made that decision to hire a county manager, you will just be spending that money, and I don't know what I'm getting for my dollars. I've got my 3 minutes here. I just paid $25,000 worth of property tax, so I guess in my view, my $8,000 a minute is going back. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Olson, for your comments. I just would like to remind everyone that we are still operating under a disaster declaration for the 2020. Yep. I just would like to remind everyone that we're still operating under a disaster declaration from the 2020 pandemic. And so us not having in-person meetings is not something that we as Lake County, as an isolated county in the state of Colorado, had decided to do. This is the way business has been operating for several counties in the state, all counties in the state. Several counties don't plan to go back to in-person meetings until after July. And so we're working through what that looks like to come out of that disaster declaration as well. So those have still been happening. And as far as distance goes, I don't have any reason to apologize for being a mother, for being a woman, and being a county commissioner. I feel like I have given myself and dedicated myself to this job more hours than I can count through the 2020 pandemic, and still managed to do things like a strategic plan for childcare in our community so our families can go back to work. So I don't feel like we can really justify everything that has happened in the last year on the last year. It was a total anomaly that everyone has had to work through and grow into. So we're still working on what that looks like going forward, but that's really all I can say at this point.
As far as infrastructure, I think, you know, we are one board of many and have inherited a problem and a path that may not have been perfect. We inherited issues that were not invested in and money that was not spent to maintain, repair, or replace certain facilities and assets. And so in your example of the pool, Mr. Olson, we worked for 3 months and got grant funding to repair only the latest issues on the pool. When we refilled that pool and watched the water drain 5 and 6 inches from the surface, and it wasn't going in between the liner and the shell of the pool where it typically had been, we realized that was the last straw. We were dealing with a facility and a building issue, a structural issue. That much water going underneath the Lake County Intermediate School is an issue and not something that's worth exacerbating without taking the unpopular measure to close the facility. Soon after that, we jumped right into preparing to propose recreation master planning. Lake County Advisory Board is a board of committees and citizens that all represent yourselves. There's a panel of 7 other folks who you all can talk to, and you can join those meetings. So there's multiple avenues to join and listen in and contribute your thoughts and add to what you all want to see. We have to manage the budget. We have to manage priorities and set priorities. And I think that that's something that has not been done very well over the, and it's hard to say no. And I think that's why. And again, taking the politics out of administration and being able to align and have someone else that fills in that gap of those hard conversations and those hard decisions and advocates for the board to policy to directors and brings that back to the board and says, okay, here's what we can do, here's what we can't do, and vice versa. Let's see. Okay, sure. I won't take any more time.
Yeah, just in the interest of answering, I think there's quite a good list of stuff there. On that last one, so hiring a consultant to help us hire the county manager. So what's actually going on there is we're paying a former county manager to serve on the screening and interviewing of what looks like about 24 candidates. We're paying them for their time, about $2,000. I mean, sure, it'd be nice if he volunteered, but this is an experienced county manager who has worked with this county before, understands our issues, also works for a small, non-front range county. We think he'll help us, and paying a small amount of money for his time seems reasonable. That's what's going on. It's not a huge consulting contract, to be told what to do.
His name is Keith Montag from Clear Creek County.
He recently retired and is helping out.
I'll just add on to that just a little bit. It's not an uncommon practice for positions that are high level senior management positions to be hired through a consulting firm. There are groups like the Novak consulting firm that is helping like the city of Fort Collins, for example, select their next city manager, and also doing a strategic planning process with them. And those consulting firms help vet candidates so that you are sure and certain that you are choosing a candidate with the appropriate qualifications to successfully implement the policy decisions of the board that you that will oversee that position.
I was just gonna, again, to try to answer all your questions, I would respectfully disagree that the county manager will be a dictator. He reports directly to elected officials. We can fire him at will if he does not, follow what we ask this person to do. So, I just, again, respectfully disagree that a hired staff person is going to be a dictator. Also, if I could, as a new commissioner, and part of why I ran is I think we have a huge backlog of deferred maintenance, and replacement of our infrastructure. Look at every department. You mentioned the asphalt plant, hundreds of thousands of dollars to bring that up to current, requirements. That is the estimate we got, from what it would take. I can show you the piece of paper where we have that estimate. This building is from 55, single pane windows and metal windows that are cracking out. The jail shut down. The pool building was built in 74 as part of LCIS. The list just, our fire engine equipment. The list just goes on and on. And, we had some really tough times in this county when the mine shut down, when we didn't have growth coming in. We just have a huge backlog that we do not have the money to fix it all at once. We're gonna, set priorities and pick these problems off one at a time, try to raise the money from grant funding and from the taxpayers, to fix these things as we can. But we're behind the 8 ball on a lot of stuff here. It is not going to get fixed overnight.
Yeah, I think, thanks, Commissioner Feeler. I think, we've undertaken a lot of projects, and we have had the unfortunate circumstance of being put in a position where we inherit projects from previous boards, and then things happen where we don't have any knowledge of how that decision came to be or where that information currently lives. And so it puts us in a position where we are consistently reactive instead of forward thinking and forward planning. And so I think one of the important things that this position will bring to us is give us the ability to work towards that forward planning. I can only speak from my experience and in my work with the assessor's office to understand the assessment process and the appraisal process. It's important that you have a position with institutional knowledge that can help you build a budget around potential new growth, right? Or what it means to eliminate mine by proceeds from your budget planning, or what different scenarios that you can have. But that is work that when I'm no longer in this position will leave with me. And in order for that work to be carried through and for those processes to be carried through so that this community is really left in a better place than when we inherited it, we have to have some stability and sustainability internally to make sure that those services are carried through and delivered in the best way that we can.
I'd also for that reason to thwart any accusations that this was only this board and not having anyone with a totally unbiased perspective to participate and help us communicate about the pool of applicants that we received. So we understand that, and it's for that very reason that we invited Keith to join us as well. Oop, going online now, it looks like we have one hand up from Cooper. Could you please state your name and your address?
Good evening, all. Sarah, if you can nod your head if you can hear me. Great, thank you. Cooper Malazzi, 119 Alder Street. Representative, I hope in the community folks are on board with this idea.
Cooper, your hand might be on your phone.
Classic. How about now?
Yes, you're good, Cooper.
Can you hear me now? I love technology.
We can hear you.
Okay, I don't do this over my phone very often. Cooper Malazzi, 119 Alder Street. Again, expressing hope that so many folks are on board with this potential for a county manager. I think we all recognize that this county is changing, that the influx of people, construction, dollars, everything else is moving at a rapid pace, something we haven't really seen in quite some time. And I've been extremely impressed with this current Board of County Commissioners, more so than any group in the 20 years that I've been here. And I think we need folks to spend time on policy and practices that are going to vision our community for the future. Otherwise, this place will become what most of us fear it will become, and that which we don't want it to become. And so by hiring a county manager, we give the breadth and the space for those individuals in elected positions to do that based on hearing of the community members. And it's kind of a no-brainer in my position. So I'm thrilled to hear so many people in support of it. For the naysayers, I would argue simply that for the lack of infrastructure or loss of infrastructure, feasibility and whatnot, all of that could have been avoided with one hand at the tiller for the last 10, 20 years. We could be seeing this, watching it daily, and not handing it off time and again to somebody new who has to learn. They get learned and then they pass it off. And so the pool would likely be in operation right now if one person were watching it throughout the last 20, in fact, 35 years since it was built, more than that, 45 years since it was built. So I'm 100% on board, and thank you for pursuing it. And I hope you keep the transparency that's been going throughout. Thank you.
Thank you, Cooper. All right, Don Seppi is next on our list.
My name's Don Seppi. I live at 2645 County Road 4. From what I'm listening to here, I think the issue is actually probably viewpoints, because if you look at the length of time your county manager in the past have spent here, it's most times shorter than one commissioner's term. So there's no continuity there. There's no way you're going to have a county manager for 20 years. No way, I'll bet. So there's no continuity there. So we're talking apples and oranges here. Your continuity is in your department heads. If you have professional, knowledgeable, competent department heads, they're there from commissioner to commissioner to commissioner. So your health department, your building department, if those people, your road and bridge department, they're all, if they are competent, if you hire competent people, they're here year after year after year. They're the ones that provide your continuity. I worked for Lake County government for 10 years. And the commissioners, when they got elected, would come in my office. I was 3 department heads, okay? So I was the building official, the land use administrator, the emergency response authority, and the environmental health officer. And the commissioners would come to me to talk about what questions they had. Now, I know that's not 3 minutes. And so, I think you've got to look at history. You don't have continuity with a county manager. And if you pay him $100,000 and he gets some experience, or she, and then another place going to offer him $200,000, there goes all your continuity. So I think you're not looking at the right spot. The commissioners, if you have competent department heads, you're not doing management of those departments. That's why you have a department head. And when I was there, I met with the county commissioners at their beck and call if they had an issue to explain what was going on. But I virtually never met with them. If my department was run properly, I was invisible. So I think you need to look at your county structure and really evaluate, are your department heads competent? Are your department heads keeping track and doing what they're supposed to do? And I think in some cases, you're going to find that's not the case. Some of it may be past stuff, but I think that's where your continuity comes from. You don't have any proof or any evidence that a county manager is going to provide continuity, because when 2 of your board members turn over, there's a really good chance that that county manager is gone. And they might be gone even before that. So I think you need to look at a different mechanism for continuity, a different mechanism for your professional guidance, because the county administrator doesn't know anything about most of those departments. And so if you don't have good department heads, your county administrator still doesn't have any effectiveness, because they don't know about septic systems. They don't know about restaurants. They don't know about building. That's not their job. They're a manager, okay? So I think you're kind of looking at this in a skewed fashion. To close with, I would say that it's pretty clear to me that there's a pretty big split. So my suggestion to you is, as elected officials, maybe you need to put this to a vote of the community to see if you have the support. And if you don't, then you'll also know that from the vote. Thank you.
I'll say thank. That's a great comment. Like, that actually really made me think through. You're totally right. Like, the department heads have a huge job. Your department directors, and again, I agree. That's, you look at the tenure of a lot of those positions, and when there's a good person there, I agree. Things run smoothly, and you don't hear from that department nearly as much. I just offer for 4 months on the job. That is not always the case. Things bubble up, issues crop up between departments. I find that is what takes up, a chunk of my time. But again, thanks. I really appreciate that, perspective from years working here in the county about where continuity actually comes from.
I also appreciate that, Don. I don't completely disagree. But I will say that, in this day, it's a lot different. And if your department heads aren't ever talking to your commissioners and understanding what policy or high level trends or concerns or risks or resources are out there for the community that the elected officials are learning and hearing and at the table to understand, then you don't have that big picture kind of steering the ship in one way or the other. And yes, our department heads are good at running the operations, and that's where that integration of the elected officials comes in to, be sure that we're still headed down the right path of bigger picture issues such as land use. We have some obsolete and confusing code and ordinances as far as development, and we know that we need to get to that and sit down and revise that. We need to make sure that, and I'll continue with the land use department example, land use department mentors and trains and works with the Planning Commission, which is a group of citizens at large who represent the community on land use, that gives the board those recommendations. They do a ton. They work with individual builders and developers. They work with us and repeat hearings and meetings. They're going out and inspecting and making sure conditional use permits are adhering to conditions. And if they're not hearing or trying to understand an integration maybe between the assessor's office and land use, or hearing legislation that's coming down the pike from the state that could be detrimental to the way that we are used to doing business in the county itself.
Don't you have Colorado County? Colorado County has a judicial branch that monitors all of the state government, all of the state laws, and Colorado Counties then comes to you. You don't need a duplication of that. Colorado Counties comes to you and goes, hey, commissioners, this is a potential problem. So I still see duplicity here, not modern trend-setting thinking. You have backup supports, Colorado Counties, other commissioners, regional commissions, DOT commissioners with commissioners on it. So you have all these things you're requesting already in front of you. You can't really be blindsided by a lot, but you've got Colorado Counties. You're a member.
We absolutely do have that as a resource, Colorado Counties Incorporated, and the 5 or so staff that are on there absolutely shoot out things to those counties. And I will tell you, unless you have sat around the table and developed that relationship and give them a reason to care about you, why else would they? That is why they send each of us. We all have relationships with those folks and those resources for that very reason, because they bring it to our attention and they highlight those things and they ask us. Kayla went to the PUC and spoke. She went and spoke on childcare. I've done many of the same things. Commissioner Fiedler, I know he's worked on the rail line, proposal already, and you have to still be at the table because those people aren't elected by you to understand your community and live here. But I understand what you're saying. I do. We do. Any other reaction?
I think, your point of Colorado counties is very well taken, and they are a very valuable resource to us. I just see from my experience that the counties that are able to have somebody at the table and participating get much more out of those conversations and out of those legislative impacts than we do. So oftentimes what happens is we find out that a bill has passed and it could be an unfunded mandate from the state on to counties, like Senate Bill 217 with the body cams for the sheriff's offices, or all law enforcement, excuse me. And although the bill is good in spirit to hold peace officers accountable, it still is an unfunded mandate. But we are like a year behind catching up to what's happening with that mandate because we were not at the table. We were not there having those conversations because we were managing internal issues and internal conflict. And so if we had somebody at the helm directing the internal policy and the policy that comes from the state level to the county level, because county elected officials act as an administrative arm of the state. So if we had somebody to implement those administrative policies on a county level, we would be able to be at the table. We would be able to be at the table to advocate for, don't push those unfunded mandates on counties because we have to make it work. We have a finite amount of dollars, or inclusionary housing and inclusionary zoning is a really great idea, but we can't do that in a rural community because we don't want the density to bring us into a situation where it's a downtown like Breckenridge. And so that's kind of that delicacy of what we're trying to achieve.
A county manager be able to have a seat at the table with one of you three cannot. And Jim Harrell, 325.
Sure. So to clarify that, us as elected officials are elected to our role to represent our community. And so in that representation, we are supposed to be at the table saying, hey, this isn't a great idea for Lake County because X, Y, and Z. But when we are overseeing 5 departments each, that takes the bulk of our day and the bulk of our time. And so when those steering committee meetings happen with CCI and Colorado counties, they're an all-day thing. They're an 8 to 5 Zoom for us to be at and to participate in and to get legislative updates from transportation, local government, criminal justice, health and human services, public health. So it's an all-day event. And so a lot of times we're not able to participate because we have too much happening internally to do that.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, they're not going to problems that take all that much time. They're not confident in their position.
Well, and I think the issue is they're looking for direction of what is expected of them. And so that clogs the bottleneck.
Can I just say on the House bill for the cameras? Well, Sheriff Reyes did her research, and I remember coming into the 2021 budget, she presented everything to you guys, so you guys were well aware of that House bill. She sat and she went, she fought and told you guys.
Dana, can you come up here?
Oh, no, I hate going up front. That wasn't, we did the work.
Right, well.
She is on the watching what is being done for law enforcement. And it wasn't presented to you guys prior to you reviewing.
Right, and we do appreciate her doing that legwork a lot and bringing to us her recommendation and what works well for her department so that we can appropriately support her. But in terms of the bigger picture, where that unfunded mandate is being brought down onto all counties from the state legislature, those are conversations that we can have to say, well, you should really be at the table, state of Colorado, supporting local law enforcement through these mechanisms. Right. Right, and so what we're saying is now there's legislation that is being introduced to assist to offset that cost on a local level, but we're not able to keep up with that. So it's just an opportunity for us as representatives to be able to be at the table and say, you know, with our budget, this is how this would or wouldn't work.
Just to make another point, I mean, legislation comes down for everything under the sun. Another one that affected us was specifically like the landfill that had been done a long time ago. We are one of, few jurisdictions that continue to run our landfill, and the closure policies are massive, those requirements, and they're not unwarranted, but we have great challenges, and CDPHE might ask us to do X, Y, and Z. With the experience of someone who said, oh, we dealt with that 8 years ago, or a commissioner who's at the table and understanding, here's the pros and cons, here's the requirements that may be asked of you that we don't actually need to do, and we need to be more creative and push back. Our department heads don't necessarily know those things. They aren't necessarily aware because they are busy successfully operating the day-to-day and providing services to the county. But that's just another example of where that has and will continue to hit us hard. I've been monitoring we see the online, and I don't think there's anyone else that has their hand up. And if not, I will continue through the list of folks in the room. You have a question about the last and Dan? Okay, all right. Next, we have Kyle Crawford. Would you like to speak? Thank you. Okay, Amy Reyes, Sheriff left. Greg Lave, would you like to speak, Mayor?
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Greg Lobby, 130 St. Louis Avenue. I've been mayor about 5.5 years, and it's been a real learning experience for me. Within the first year, I realized that our form of governance, and that is what's called a mayor strong system, was not a tenable way to govern. And I'll explain why I'm saying it. It's not that I can't get the job done. I love doing this job, but I spend all my time doing the intricacies of day-to-day management, and that suits me to a T. Actually, it's what I've been doing for 40 years. However, I feel changing the people of Leadville, and I'll give you some examples. Right now, like Colorado Municipal League has encouraged me to be more involved in the league and to affect possible outcomes in the legislature. And I also have had good dialogue with our representative and our senator from the state. But for the last couple of years, that's fallen off because we've gotten so busy. It has become so complicated to run a city or county that that our world has changed in terms of what it takes to get that done. So I'll give you another example. There are some committees around the state or boards that if you're not part of those, they don't think you exist. I'll give you, the I-70 coalition or the transportation board. There are a lot of things that maybe we could get accomplished in Lake County, but we have no voice. So for me, I'm speaking for me, I think the city needs a city manager. That's what I think. And I think that because of the way I'm managing, I'm not doing a good enough job of really representing the city of Leadville around the state. And that feels like a loss to me. I feel like I'm not doing a good job in that respect. I'll give you a couple just other examples. There are 282 municipalities in the state of Colorado, as towns and cities. Only 12 of those do not have a city manager, and we are one of those 12. So that's, it's pretty clear to me that most cities are run by either an administrator, a city administrator, or a city manager. See, there was no point I was going to make. Oh, yes. I'm buoyed by the idea that DOLA is willing to help us get this done. You know, I'm hoping to have a city administrator in place in 2022. And DOLA has encouraged us to do that. And they're willing to pay 75% of that salary in the first year, and then 50 and then 25. And then in the fourth year, you run there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. City manager and county manager would have two. Yeah.
I can't worry about the city of Leadville.
Are you encouraging the county manager to?
I think it's the proper way to govern, yes.
Did you say that on the 11, that 11 out of 282, you're not have managers?
It was 12, yeah, 12 out of 282
municipalities or how do you classify them?
Well, the cities and towns, anybody who's incorporated in the state of Colorado is a town.
I'd like to take an opportunity to comment and add a little bit to Mayor's example of the TPR, the transportation planning region, our Intermountain Transportation Planning Region with CDOT, and an example of having sat at the table with the mayor and a city and county representative there. You know, sometimes the framework in which those organizations are operating isn't even equitable and fair and attainable to smaller rural local or counties like ours. With the TPR and working with CDOT, it took time after time and commenting that we would never be able to compete with Vail for a priority in a road infrastructure project because we could never bring to the table a completed engineered plan. We didn't have the political will and or the budget to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a plan to bring to someone to ask that we get some funding to then construct this plan. And so in that process, and along with other trends that are the similar trend that we are seeing through other agencies like GOCO, Get Outdoors Colorado, and elsewhere around wildfire management, these organizations are shifting that and allowing for an opportunity for support and funding and resources to be available for counties that need it, to build capacity and build projects that are competitive. So they're at the same ranking as counties and communities like Vail and Eagle and Summit. That have the resources and have plenty of people and engineers on staff to work on these projects for 2-3 years, that continuity to bring to the agencies that will then implement them and need to give the permissions for improvements. So I just wanted to offer that, that example. All right, look at Miguel. Absolutely. You got it. Okay, still monitoring virtual, no questions, no hand. Oh, Bob Casey has a hand raised. Go right ahead, Bob.
Bob Casey, 1151 Road 7, number 24, Leadville, Colorado. I'd like to just say that I cannot agree with Commissioner Marcella's statement more. I think it's her essay or the way she thinks about the higher political plane that we need to delve in this community is vital. And I think this is the most important and critical decision this board may make. And I encourage it to do so. My own experience was that back in the 90s, I was a county commissioner. Our board hired the first county administrator. His name was Kent Hager. He was well qualified, experienced, and an excellent county administrator while he was there. My board was able to work with him, and I can individually say that without him in that process, in terms of the management of the way the hierarchy will work with the county manager, that things like the Superfund site remediation that the commissioners had the ability to spend hours and hours on, including traveling, a number of meetings, and would not have happened or wouldn't have happened as effectively. And the second thing is that during the administration of either county commission or county administrators or county managers, that was a very important and integral part of the development of the Mineral Belt Trail. So I think that it's the most important thing you can do. I fully support it. He's the county manager is not a dictator, and it's not a duplication of county department heads. So I encourage you to make the decision. I think that the only thing you have to be very aware of is that it's important to make sure that you set him up for success, because whoever comes in and takes this position will be under a lot of pressure and probably a lot of criticism right off the bat. And you're going to have to deal with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. I think I'd like to comment on that too. And Don made a reference to this as well. I think as far as maintaining a county manager, and because Bob jolted my memory on that, I think that he's exactly right to set someone up for success there in having this cohesion and understanding and joint mentality of the board on this particular topic is setting this person up for the best success. And I think that that person or that position has failed in the past because of a lack of clarity on, as Commissioner Fiedler presented, what those roles and responsibilities are, and then a dedication to allowing that position to function and the board to play its part. But thank you for your comments. Okay, I will go down the list. It's the room's turn. Frank Tull.
It's been brought up a couple times. Sure. Catherine Despedet, under Sheriff, 3002 Highway 92. So one of the common themes that I've been hearing as a business is that lack of continuity, or it's been brought up like people get elected, they leave, and then you got somebody trying to relearn that system. So how long has this been a problem that you've been aware of?
A lack of continuity. Well, the last time we had a manager in place and it was only lasted about 1.5 years was maybe 2014.
So a few years now, right? So my question is, all right, so we understand that this is a problem, right? And we're not even guaranteed that a county manager will stay, right? So you have to replace that person. So what proactive steps are you taking since you've been aware of this problem to alleviate this problem? I know you won't be able to rectify it 100%, but there are steps that a division, a department can take professionally to ensure that transfer of ownership, if you will, or leadership. So I'm kind of confused as to why that's not occurring and or addressed and or presented here as well, not just hiring a county manager.
So I'm glad you asked that question, because that is one thing that coming into the position, I thought and was made even more abundantly clear, having all this knowledge dumped on me from the last commissioner in my seat. I wanted to leave knowing that would be the case in fewer instances than when I came into the position. Water was one of them, coming in and, an example of like facilities maintenance and monitoring, and not having a department who had an ear of a particular commissioner or had the practice in looking for other grants and being at the table and ways, just having those personal skills to advocate and get outside funding to advance their one department without being told or shared by a board of how their department plays in a bigger picture. I think that conversation seemed to have been lacking. The continuity and succession planning is a huge thing that we have prioritized. We want people to train. We have worked at restructuring road and bridge, for example. So we have clear salary and bands of, you know, foremen and management. And then you have your equipment operators, and the foremen are going to work on projects, and they're going to start developing relationships with vendors, with partners who they need to work with, you know, with SiteWise, and they're going to work with Excel while the director or assistant director continue to do other higher level and more strategic thinking. Let's see, the succession planning also is a huge, there's a huge gap nationwide, I think. I mean, any industry, baby boomers are retiring, the knowledge of those industries are exiting. And so even there's a succession planning gap on some of our volunteer boards. And I was just speaking today, the Leadville Lake County Conservation District is coming back to meetings after COVID. They have a new manager. Super excited to speak with Laura Kiowa. Oh, I'm not getting your last name right. And she's learning everything and coming up to speed. So Laura, have you talked with Central Colorado Conservancy? Because they're interested and really involved with Chaffee County soil conservation. She's concerned with water quality. Great. Wow. Let's get all of these folks understanding what these outside agencies are even doing so that everybody's not working in a silo.
Yeah, well, so what I'm hearing is you are implementing something, but what if you were to leave tomorrow? What's in place to have that knowledge that you have?
I've instilled that in the departments that I oversee, and I repeat that over and over again in these directors. I do have, I mean, we have files that are shared.
Together.
There is shared, yes. We have shared files, shared strategic planning that's been shared with directors and elected officials when we held more regular meetings together.
Okay. So if somebody in the public wanted to look at that, they would have court requests and be able to see your proactive steps to continue with.
They could call me and I'd be happy to. I have a whiteboard on my office upstairs that has a map and timeline of thoughts and ideas. It's not a secret.
Okay, great. So we'll see consistent decision-making amongst all three of you, correct?
That's the goal.
And Catherine, I think that that's a really great point too. You know, we've implemented some new software as well to help us with data collection and data tracking for specifically facilities maintenance and capital maintenance. So it'll track, you know, street failures. It will track internal issues. I don't think we had that up to date before the jail was closed. But it will track all of the maintenance records for each facility and each location so that we can look at the data trends and address those facilities based on the amount of money that we put into each of those facilities.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And so the point being is the county manager is not necessarily needed based off the fact that you don't have continuity because you're proactively taking the steps to have that, correct?
No, I mean, there is still a giant gap. I will also add to, I'd like to add to Kayla's comment about the software investment from the assessor's office and a lot of suggestions that have come in over the years. You know, we have new software that we're working with, and now departments and other elected offices are working with to further maintain a continuity and better support capacity within those departments with the staff that they have, and looking at then what do we need now? What's the new challenge? So other elected officials have participated absolutely in creating efficiencies and this understanding of or effort to continuity of operations. It looks like we have a question online. Kelly, do you have a question on the topic that we're discussing? Because I need to get through the list of folks in the room.
Okay, I'll let you get through. It was actually a comment on the topic you were discussing, but not a question.
Okay.
Do you want me to make my comment?
Yeah, if it was related to, the discussion, please.
Yes, yes, and my comment comes from past experience. Before I retired, I was a court manager, and part of my job as a professional and a court manager, and part of the expectation was after 10 years when I left, that I transitioned that position and provided all of the pertinent information. And just in response to some of the concerns, and I really appreciate everything that everyone has said. It's opened my mind to things I hadn't considered, but I want to let you know that a professional manager, if they transition out, they will provide that information in a very understandable, comprehensive format so that it is maintained and transferred. I don't think that you necessarily have that time and luxury as an elected official, but that is something that should be done and would be required of a professional manager. So I just wanted to throw that out. I worked a lot with the University of Denver court management program. I know that's different than a county manager, but that was certainly an expectation of anyone that worked in that program. So a position that we took when we hired people was that even if you only had a great person for a couple years, that person would make such a difference. But I think when you have a community like Leadville and Lake County that is so wonderful, that you will embrace them and that person will not want to leave no matter what the salary is. End of comment.
Kelly. All right, let's try to move more quickly down this list. We are only halfway through. Ron Bertolas. I'm reading your name. Would you like to comment? Come on up and.
Thank you for being honest. It's nice to be able to citizens, just like you said. So my question was Monday. I agree with Don Sedgwick, just like I told you. You know, you gotta look at your department heads. If you're having to do their job, your department heads obviously involved. I used to go to a lot of time recovery professional meetings in Colorado. There was always a guy that spoke up and said, "You're only as good as your leader." And to this day, you see them. If you have a bad leader in your department, you got bad employees. Okay, so that's where you really need to start, seriously. The other thing I would like to question. So if you got this county manager, sorry, I have a bad back. If you got this county manager, is that going to cut down on the attorney fees you guys? I looked at all your bills last night. I mean, no, I'm just saying, within 5 months, your county attorney has charged you $65,000 in 5 months. And what I want to tell you is I have a slew of lawyers because of problems I have. But every time I call them, okay, I was on the Zoom meeting with you guys, okay? And you guys invited said your county attorney spoke for about 20 minutes. And he invited said, "You can stay on the phone with us at the Zoom meeting." Heck yeah, she's looking at that clock, boom, boom, $500. I mean, I'm just telling you, you gotta really think that. But what I also want to say is, you stated something to us off the meeting, Mr. Feller, about something to the respect of HR. You said something, you don't have HR or something? You remember him saying something about HR?
Speak up, Ron.
Okay.
If you could just step up closer to the camera here.
I don't want to be on camera. But, you know, my question was, it's Mr. Feller, when the Zoom meeting ended on Monday, he had stated something about HR. Something with your HR, you don't have HR, is the way I took it. I'm pretty sure that's what you stated. Dane, how do you take that? You don't have HR? So
Tell me
The reason why I said that is Mr. Wallace said something about the county manager handles this. Wait a minute, your HR person handles a lot of that stuff if there's a conflict. That's why I'm asking. Who is your HR person? Because I think you said you don't have HR.
Well, yeah, our HR director resigned and took a job in a different county.
So,
Or, different, I mean.
You're the HR administrator.
So don't you think you should probably get an HR to resolve 90% of your problems inside?
I spent half of my day interviewing candidates for the HR director position.
My is, I just need to know, because he asked me, because he got, is the county actually ripping all the wood up there on Athens with their dump trucks? And I mean, is that what we're paying county guys to do? What are they doing? I'm asking for my name.
County, sorry, quick sec. County has an agreement with the Forest Service. It's called the Schedule A. We help them maintain their roads and they compensate the county for that work.
So they maintain that road better than the roads that we drive in Lake County, is what you're telling me.
No, we are dealing with a recreation impact and open and natural resource management problem. And we want to partner with them to sustain water quality and experience and the open lands that all of us, I think, care a lot about. So the Forest Service is compensating the county to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars to do work that they have outlined and asked of us. But that's called the Schedule A road agreement between the county and the Forest Service, which changes and/or we may not contribute or participate in if we don't have the capacity. Okay.
Can I make a comment? I gotta go. And I just want to make one comment. I have a previous engagement. Maybe
I'll give him
we
my
should
3
just
minutes.
No, I know. The majority city manager, the majority of the people that they vote in, still.
What was your comment?
That's it. I'm leaving that note. That maybe we should give it to the majority of the people and make county to vote for that city manager.
My first question refers to the,
I'm sorry, can you state your name and your address?
my name is Donald P. Vosberg, 137 East 9th Street, Leadville, Colorado. My first question refers to the firehouse on County Road 10. I'd like to know how it's coming along, approximate cost that we spent on it. My second would be, how do you compare Lake County to other counties? We are a county of our own, not like San Miguel, Castillo County or that. You can walk across this county in one day. We're one of the smallest counties. Not population wise, but one of the smallest counties in Lake County. I feel that it should go to a vote of the people on a county manager. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Tony. The fire station on County Road 10 is scheduled to break ground, if you will, this week with a new contractor that had been selected for that project to finish it and bring it to completion. We're currently still working with legal on the bond claim against the previous contractor on the Southern Fire Station. And so
are we going to sue the other contractor?
So we have filed a claim against the bond for the previous contractor for non-completion of that project and performance metrics on that project, of which they did not deliver the product that we were expecting to get from them. And we're still working through that process. It takes a long time to get through that process and go through all the legal hoops to get there. But we're getting there. We've submitted all of our documentation to them, and we'll go through the rest of that project. Sorry. Process this summer. Yeah, so we have budgeted for 2021 with the previous contractor. I don't have the numbers. Yeah, 360,000 with the previous contractor. We've got 1.2 million budgeted in 2021. We'll split that cost 3 ways between the county, the city, and the fire department. So the fire department will pay us back each year from their fire fund balance. The city will pay us back every year through a new IGA. And then the county will pay for their portion of that project. We also have $700,000 in grant funding to finish that project and bring it to fruition. And we have worked with DOLA to let them know of the situation that we've had with the previous general contractor, so that they are fully apprised of what has happened and how we're proceeding forward with that. So that's moving forward. They're ready to file new drawings for a new building permit for the operational side. The steel building side of that structure is getting ready to go up. We've had our road and bridge donate some in-kind work to the bays so that the foundation can finish being poured and be erected there. So that project is going really well. It's taken us a really long time to get that back online because when you're in the middle of a project and switch general contractors and design teams, it takes a little while for us to pick up where they left off. So we've been very thankful and very fortunate to have Colleen Caneda and HCM. They did some work with the school district as well on the new school building, be able to come in and help us with the project management on that project. So it should be scheduled for completion by the end of 2021. And what was your other question? I'm sorry, Donnie. Yeah, so I think really, you know, we can't compare necessarily based on our geographical location and our size in terms of square mileage, right? And so I think a lot of times we say, well, we're really small and we don't have all these things that other counties have going on, that Summit County has going on and Eagle County has going on. But the truth of the matter is that Summit County and Eagle County and sometimes Chaffee really rely on us for their workforce. And so being able to partner with them to bring things to the table like affordable workforce housing with collaboration from them is really important. And so it's not necessarily that we're comparing with them. We're trying to leverage those regional partnerships as much as we can. And also just to, sorry, and I'll let you go. Just to kind of add to that a little bit, you know, we are feeling the pressure right now of the cost of living in Lake County more than we've ever felt it before. The state demographer's office said in 2018 that Lake County was the county in the state of Colorado with the highest pace of growth in population and change in population. Our census numbers for the coronavirus relief funds definitely reflected that. And so in order for us to really manage that in an appropriate way so that we don't turn into the Breckenridge where we have brand new houses and brand new developments coming in and 70% of that development belongs to a second homeowner, we have to be at the table and we have to be able to drive those demands for our community.
You got your Breckenridge already started. I mean, the houses are $350,000 home, all of a sudden it's $600,000 for a worker in Lake County. I mean, people are working at the line, they can't even get people work down because there's no housing. So, I mean, what are you gonna do to stop that? There's 289 bed and breakfast. I mean, Airbnbs in Lake County. I mean, when are you gonna regulate? Seriously.
Ron, that That's a great
topic
topic.
for the town hall, and I will say, I would love to chat about that. I literally got a phone call about this yesterday and talked through the city plan and the county's part, if any, in the rail yard development. I will say it's one phase of 3, so there's a lot more opportunity. You know, phase 1 is not necessarily going to look like phase 2 and 3 in terms of what's asked of that development. And I believe that city is learning from the challenges that first phase brought on. But if we can stay on topic just to get through this, and please share other items that you would love to talk about, reach out to us one-on-one. Do you have another comment?
I had a comment on the fire station, and you may have answered it, I'm not sure, but how are you managing that going forward, considering the disaster that happened thus far? Who's taking that over, and if you said it, I couldn't hear because I can't hear as well, and also the mask.
Yeah, sorry about that. So we have a Jane. Sorry. We meet weekly with our new project management to ensure that we are meeting those key performance indicators on the project and make sure that it stays on task. And we go through the budget once a week with them. Right. Dynamic Project Management is a contracted firm that we've hired for project management of the fire station. Yes. Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
We have a hand raised. Jamie, online virtually.
Thank you, Commissioner Mudge. I just want to thank the commissioners again for having this and recognize that it's 8:12. We've been here for a couple hours. I'd like to respectfully remind the commissioners that we're here to talk about the county manager position. I appreciate this is a lively public forum. Everybody's out post-COVID, but I'm very interested in this topic at hand. I'd like to hang out. I don't want to spend my whole night here. And also it's difficult sometimes for folks on Zoom to hear what's happening. So to who's ever managing mics, and also to anybody in the room, if you don't mind just coming closer, that way we can hear what's going on. Very much appreciate it. Thank you all for your time.
Thanks for that reminder on point of order, Jamie. All right, let's move through. We've got, she's not here?
No, Gloria.
Oh, Gloria. Okay, thank you. Elaine Pacheco?
Oh, I usually don't talk like that either, so I'm gonna stand here up here.
It really helps the folks on Zoom.
In fact, with Zooming, why aren't these people here? It's so important to them. We're here. They look like they're pretty comfortable at home. Oh, anyway, my point is, what did you pay our previous managers, like the main Patty? What were they paid back when Kathy had?
I don't know. Do you
I mean,
remember?
it wasn't no hundreds and thousands, right?
I don't know what Kathy's salary was. I believe Guy's salary was 75,000.
So I don't see why this has to be such a price. People talk about wherever they've had administrators, I would say, well, people, it worked for them. How do we know it's going to work for us? We've had too many people come in and out of our county and our city and left us high and dry. How many people have done that to us? Has anybody thought about the elderly? How are they going to pay their taxes? You know, come on. And I said we should take it to a vote. And I said, Don, and Kim Olson, Ron, they all have their points. Kathy, our sheriff department is trying very much. So that's my comment, and I think we should have a vote.
Thank you. Okay, Tim Harrelson.
I'm Tim Harrelson, and my biggest beef with the whole thing is how much this is going to cost. And I handed out sheets. The proposed manager is going to be making $100,000 a year for the salary without benefits. That's more than 83% of the working families in the county, household incomes. I think you all make a very good salary, and it bothers me that you may be very busy, you may be working very hard, but it bothers me how much you all are making and wanting to put it on the backs of the taxpayers of Lake County. And the new county manager will be making more, as I said, more than 83% of the county. 105,000 and 83% of the households in the county make less than $100,000 a year. And on the subject of divvying up the duties and you need a seat at the table, I don't understand why one of you cannot have that seat at the table. Why does one county manager have the seat at the table when you don't?
I think that may have been a misunderstanding from a previous comment as well. We are not suggesting that this person has the seat at the table instead of us. We are suggesting that this person is here operating day-to-day administration while we are out there representing the community.
And you'll have the seat at the table and he'll be doing the management of the county.
Yes.
But you can't go, two of you manage the county that day and one of you goes and has the seat at the table on these all-day conferences that you say you need a seat at the table for. Or you overwork. See, as I said, my biggest beef is your compensation. You guys are highly paid. You're paid more than 70% of the families in this county. And they're paying your salary. And it bothers me that you think paying somebody that makes more than 83% of the families in this county is gonna solve all your problems and have institutional memory when, and I'd like to see it all go to a vote. That's my final point. I want to see it go to a vote. I think you guys snuck this in when during this COVID thing, whatever's going on with it. But I feel like you snuck it in. But no, and not very many people were aware. I certainly wasn't until I read your ad in the paper. And I read the paper pretty much every week. Thank you.
Tim. Thanks, Tim. So we, just to be clear and make sure that everybody understands, this process is something that we held several work sessions on with our DOLA representative. I think if you read in the editorial, it was put in the paper more than once that this was going to happen. And it was a very collaborative effort between our state partners and us about how this was going to happen and the impacts that it would have on our community and how to do it successfully so that it wasn't us just pulling the trigger and putting it out there, I guess. So we had several work sessions on it with them to understand what that meant. We had work sessions in 2019 with our DOLA representative, Christy Dune, and Greg, is it Greg Winkler? Mm-hmm. Greg Winkler, who is a previous county manager from Teller County who now works for DOLA, to explain to us what the difference is between a manager and an administrator and the value add that position brings to a county management structure and operation. And so, we did put a lot of thought into it so that it would be successful. And I can emphasize with what you're saying about the cost of living in Lake County and the concerns that people that want to keep Lake County as their home have. The affordability of housing, the availability of housing, the wages, those types of, I can emphasize with that. And I can feel that definitely on a personal level as well. I don't know that, I can understand the concern of how much the sticker shock of the salary brings, but when you put that number into a comparison of what the county's overall budget is, it's less than 1%. If you add the county commissioner salaries to the county manager's salary, it's still less than 1% of our overall county budget. So it's not like that's where all of our resources are going, is just into this position. Go ahead, Jeff.
So I just wanted to add again, I echo what Kayla said about the cost of living here. I mean, I hear your fact about like 83% of the households, I think it was in Lake County. Yeah, I just want to make sure it's households, not individuals, but to me, like, I think the 83% should be paid more for their hard work, and this is something we struggle with, throughout the county, businesses struggle with this, like, it is hard to pay a competitive wage to attract people, to come work here. So I guess my point is, like, I mean, I totally get your point about comparing it to what some other people make in their job, but I think if we shortchange the salary on this position, what's going to happen, what happens in a lot of other cases, we lose our sheriff's deputies, we lose our firefighters because we can't compete with neighboring counties or other parts of the country. We have to pay a competitive wage to get a good person in here and keep them.
I would also like you to comment on why one of you cannot be the case on the separation of duties.
We do that, and I think to reach out and look at the calendars or whatnot, be happy to explain all that we're doing on a day-to-day.
I just don't understand how county manager will be helpful in having a seat at the table. Why can't one of you have a seat at the table? And we can cover the county for that day and then have somebody have the seat at the table elsewhere. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Tim. We have maybe not. I think she jumped off of the virtual meeting. Oh. Amy Tate, did you have your hand up? Do you have a comment or question on the topic?
Yeah, I did. Sorry. I was just going to point out, I mean, we're not just spending this all of the county budget either. We're leveraging money from DOLA from this also. This isn't just that we're doing it. We're also leveraging money, which is something that, frankly, we're really good at in this county, is finding resources and making the most use out of it. And I think it would be a shame not to take advantage of that pool of money.
Thank you, Amy. We'll continue down the list of folks in the room. Sherry Hahn.
Sherry Hahn, 1828 Autumn Drive, Leadville, Colorado. And I've liked everything everybody said, but I do have some concerns. Well, you mentioned the salaries, that we'd like to have competitive salaries. I think in the past, some of our higher paid administrators who have had really nice salaries for this community have not stayed very long. And I was wondering if there's any kind of guarantee that you hire somebody that they are going to be able to stay. Because it sounds like a very beautiful salary, and I think it would be in this community, but we haven't kept superintendents. We haven't kept anybody who's been really a upper echelon. Sorry.
Sure. Excuse me. I'd be happy to answer that for you. So, so common practice with a county manager position is that oftentimes with executive management, you can offer them a contract obligation that they are obligated to fulfill that job duty for X amount of years.
And if they have, getting a salary right now, that person leaves, so we'll get every time we have to replace them.
No, so this is a one-time shared salary obligation and opportunity from the state of Colorado in partnership with this position, so that it assists with the implementation of the formal management structure. So anytime you undergo any kind of organizational shift and change in organizational norms, oftentimes the implementation makes it really difficult for those norms to stick. And so with us having that partnership and us having that collaboration with the state, we hope that we'll be able to rely on them as a resource to assist with that implementation. So back to salary negotiations, when you go into a salary negotiation for a high-level executive management position, you do have the ability to ask them to stay and contract with them to stay for a specified amount of time that you think is reasonable for the implementation or for that job. So it's something that we can definitely consider when we go into the phase of selection, and as we get down that road with our regional manager, Christy from DOLA, as well. So we'll take into consideration all of those best practices as we move towards the selection of candidates.
Tim, comment on the.
Tim Harrelson, 325 Mount Sherman Drive. How long a contract are you gonna sign with this person?
We don't know the answers to that
1 year,
question
2
yet.
years, 3 years, 10?
We don't have that answer for you right now.
What is it likely to be?
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, he's got big.
All right,
Let's move on now to Bill Holmbeck.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you and welcome you back to the courthouse.
Yes, sir.
You know, this is our home. This is our place. And then I want to thank Patty and Miguel and church department and Treasurer couldn't be here tonight. So anyway, I want to say, hey, thanks and welcome back. Now, this is a book you should really get to know. It's called State Statutes. It's what you need to understand and really know. When I came in as a county commissioner, we had him, and I'm not going to mention any names. We had embezzlement, we had fraud, we have theft, and we have some individuals in here that know, that worked with us on cleaning it up. And I went to lunch and with a county commissioner. And that during that lunch, he said to me, he said, Hollenbeck, this is very easy job. You don't have to do much of anything, but make a few meetings and sign some documents. Well, it wasn't too long. It was a tough damn job because we were in the process of cleaning it up. Now, I attended the Monday meeting, and I'm going to caution the three of them, okay? Because I used to teach school at the university. And you need to know this book because you make mistakes if you don't. So I'm just going to caution you. By you texting each other and scheduling the 24th meeting, and you're still communicating on these 5 items. Jeff, you said this now. Did they text each other? Your decision in your mind's already made up of how you're going to vote on these 5 items before you have your Zoom meeting. No, don't sit there and shake your head. You guys know what this is. That's the way it was when I came in. They'd have 10 items. I sat through many commissioner meetings. And the 10 commissioner meetings will be through in 10 minutes. That's not the way it's done because you're breaking the sunshine law, the Colorado sunshine law. Okay? You've got to hold a meeting, and I would say Are you gonna run a
Do you
clock?
want to wrap up your final comment?
Ooh, ooh, I'm gonna look at my time, so I take my time. Yeah.
Thank you, but we're not going to do that. We've run so late already. I'd like to give everybody, every individual
I'll
a
tell you.
chance.
I want this to go to a damn vote for this county. You're headed down a rocky road. And let me tell you something.
Lila,
Oh, my
what,
I've got some.
all right. You can have your wife's 3 minutes.
Huh?
You can take your wife's 3 minutes.
Wow. Oh, I thank you. You're so damn kind.
Actually,
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Bill, do you want to continue?
I do.
All right. Would you
Why can't I continue? Hell,
would you please continue so that we can let everybody else on the list get to
Okay,
it?
thank you. You said tonight you have 8,127 citizens in this county, right?
Yes.
Your administrative cost for this county, because I have your budget right here. And your budget for 2021, folks, is never signed. It was sent to the state and never signed. Okay? What the hell is going on here? Hell.
Bill, go ahead.
So my concern is, did you have a public hearing? That's a requirement of the budget.
Absolutely, Bill. Do you have any other comments on the county manager position?
Yeah, I do.
Great.
You want to get nasty?
Can we hear the, I'm trying to respect the topic.
Yeah.
And get, we still have 2, 4, 6, 7 people.
Okay, in my opinion, I'm gonna close it out. But I don't like this. And I don't like you running and hiding and zooming. In my opinion, what we need to do is move, in order to move Lake County forward in a very positive way, is you need to work together by communicating and developing a spirit of cooperation with all of the other elected officials. They feel like they're cut out. And what you're saying to them is, we're over you. You're not over them. I talked to Eric Bergman twice, CCI, you know him. He said you don't have anything but your budget. That's it. They're there to run their departments, but you're trying to micromanage. That's some of your damn problem. And you got to get over it. So you have to abide by the duties and responsibilities of 3011-107 and the statutes, and abide by 3010-303 of the statutes. And you got to involve this community. You're not going to go very far if you don't. And if you don't take it to a vote and you make it on your 3, because I've talked to a hell of a lot of people in this county. I've been here 35 years. Okay? And what's going on is not good. So you can try to ramrod this county manager too. But if you take it to the people and they all vote in favor of it, good. Thanks for your time. Thanks for giving me another 3 minutes. And good luck.
Thank you.
I'm here. We've been through this. Ken Olson's been here. And I'm here to help you. But you gotta be willing to ask for help. Don Seppi, I disagree with you a number of times, but I damn sure agree with you on the department. You got good ones. You can run a business. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, Teresa Olson. Is she here? Okay. Ray-Jo, Mer- Tina.
Okay, so I don't want answers, I'm just gonna tell you what.
Tina, so you have,
Can hear me, I got it, figured nothing out. Say your address, Tina, please. Oh, okay. So it's Tina Kenzie, and it's 618 West 8th Street here in Leadville, so. You know, everybody's saying about how great county managers are. Well, I've lived through two of them. First one was in 97, that guy sat with his feet up on the desk and read the newspaper. That was his qualifications. Then your next one in 2000, embezzlement. Was it bad embezzlement? Patty, myself, Bill, Ken, we all went through hell because it was an open checkbook. We had a rubber stamp. Commissioners did not pay attention to what was going on. So here's my questions. I want to know, how is the position going to be different than the last managers? And then how will you deal with your department heads when they get angry and come to you and say, get rid of that person? Because it has happened. I've seen it with Gus. Okay. Then what happened to all the water attorneys? You're sitting there saying you're on the water stuff. We used to have water attorneys that went to bat for you guys. So where's your attorneys? Because you're not competent in representing for water. You don't have no degree in water. Your economic, you guys are saying you're doing economics. What are you guys bringing to Leadville? The only thing you've done is raise our taxes. More government. You have tons of layer of government, which is a waste. And I, for one, am tired of paying higher taxes. I feel sorry for the elderly, your grandma, your grandpa. How are they going to keep paying for this? It's like you guys are hired to do a job. You voted, you wanted this job. The hours you put in, it's not 2 hours. This is an 8-hour job. And COVID, no COVID. The rest of us were here working while you guys were at home. We all had kids. I got grandkids. It didn't stop me from coming to work. So that's a piss poor excuse of why we're on Zoom meetings. And lastly, when you hire your so-called county administrator manager, are you got preferential treatment? You've already got somebody picked out? Or are you going to let elected officials sit in to see, are they going to be treated all fairly? Or are we singling out some? And that's all I have.
So I think we addressed a lot of those questions before in setting this person up for success and the way that we would approach supporting the position. I also know that we have mentioned the success in the school district and the hospital board and their recruitment process, which we aim to follow. Moving along, Dan Houchins, would you like to comment?
Thanks, and thanks for doing this, you guys. My history with you guys is I actually worked in recreation, so I have a little bit of inside knowledge too under Ken Olson's program. And I can tell you right now that, you know, if we have more direction in recreation right now, and I want to get back, like to have the pool fixed and things like that coming along, but just in recreation alone with my doctorate, I can barely keep up with the water needs for the golf courses, what's going on with the Ski Cooper situation, what's going on with the trails we've got going here. And I can't imagine anybody here knowing enough to keep recreation afloat. And by the way, recreation is going to keep this county alive. Your mining district's done. I mean, I know we've got Dave Turn working over it, you know, on the mine over there by Panarch, but really recreation is going to happen. And if you guys, what I really suggest is that you do get a manager, because where I see our town right now is where Moab was in the 80s. And if you know anything about Moab right now, go out there and see what it's like. Every friggin' corner's got side-by-sides, ATVs, kids on motorcycles, and just crazy stuff. So what they're planning out there is, I've had 2 friends buy houses here just to get out of Moab because it's so overcrowded. Prices on houses aren't going down, okay? And we need to have people that are gonna stay. So I really support having somebody that's gonna have the ability to help you guys do stuff where you can give them and delegate them, responsibilities to work with different departments and actually make us more representative in each area. And that's my biggest comment is I think you guys work your ears off. I know you guys don't think so, but the amount of Zooms that I see different people doing here now is just crazy, the amount of time that they have to do. So right now, what I'd like to see is more support for the county, and let's go forward and look at how we can put this thing, where we can, get it where we don't lose our people over the hill. Our carpenters aren't working across the hill and stuff, where the wages are well respected and we can keep people here. So that's my biggest comment is, in rec, just in a doctor perspective, there's so many things happening for the commissioners to keep up. It just blows my mind, and any help that they can get. I mean, we put in grants to teach junior programs and senior programs at the golf course just right now, and that's because we got a board out there. And it's just amazing to me that the amount of things that are going on in the county that you guys have to keep up with. So thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Miguel.
I'm Miguel Martinez, formerly of Stringtown, Lake Fork, West Park, currently CS Placer, 920 Mountain Drive, and public servant acting as county assessor currently. It's a unique time of the year for me, and it happens every 2 years. Just to hear, and hopefully with your door open, to hear and see the rush of traffic coming. I've met with well over 30 people face to face in my office. Oh, sorry about that. And many of the people in this room also have visited me. And what I hear all the time that I hope and I think you need to hear is the concern from the people that have been in this community the longest. And it's a concern of affordability. And I get that mostly from widowed ladies that have raised their families here, their husbands have passed, worked at the farm, and literally in tears. And I'm the person that gets to try to wipe up those tears, right? And it's the worst part of my job, especially when the senior exemption was taken away one time during my 14 years. I've told many of you that's the worst I've ever experienced, right? And I've experienced some bad things in all, right? But it went unaddressed, continue to go unaddressed. And so it comes to an accountability issue. And I do think we need a county manager. I don't think now's the appropriate time. I think it's destined to fail, and you're setting that person up for failure for the same reason I thought the last 2 HR people were going to fail, and predicted that and told you that was my concern, because it needs to start with leadership from the top down. That's my opinion, right? And I've been wrong before, and I hope I'm wrong this time. I hope that person succeeds for all of our best interests. But you have to weigh it against the concern of affordability. And we're really unique, right? Like somebody said here, we're one of the smallest counties in Colorado. We have the highest percentage of public land, which is a lot of the reason why we're all here, right? And unless we mind our access, that doesn't mean anything. People have fought those fights and they left where we should have continued, right? And I hear a lot about water, and I know we have a lot of privately board managed clubs that in theory are for taxpayer benefit because we're foregoing taxpayer money to run those clubs. I'm not sure what some of the salaries are. I did hear a number from legal that was far greater than what my salary is and as an elected official. So that was kind of eye-opening, right? I didn't realize that we paid that much in legal, but it's not a surprise because many times things just get past there, particularly in the land use department. So I wonder what those legal costs are. Back to somebody's point about quality leadership in departments, I can attest to that. I've had great people in my department. Many of you used to know Tony Workman, who was my deputy for many years. The state continued to headhunt him for 2 years because we had quality people like Don had mentioned, and that's what makes your success, right? I'd like to act like I do everything on my own and have success. No, it's all them, right? It's the partners. I've had great partners that I've disagreed with and fought viciously with, right? But still we've maintained the respect that they've earned their position individually by the same people that elected you individually, also elected us, right? And to talk about institutional knowledge, we have it. And I think I have a lot of it, 14 years here, and 9 of them with my predecessor and mentor, Howard Tritz. Been the first assessor ever to be president of Colorado Assessors Association. Been on every board, locally and regionally, at the high level. And I also have a sick child that I take care of at home. And I am here every day this month. You need better partners, I think, right? And those are your department directors. You need to start there. And you need to have a couple wins under your belt to have everybody in line following you, respecting you. You know, it needs to start there with top-down leadership before you can expect any hired gun from anywhere to come in and solve our unique problems here. Thank you.
All right, and Frank Toll, he's still here? No, okay. Well, that concludes public comment, and I don't see any other folks participating virtually. Thanks for hanging in there with us. Commissioner Marcella, do you have any, sounds like you have some parting comments, and or I'll invite my commissioners to make some observations.
Sorry. Just wanted to thank everyone for taking the opportunity to come and participate this evening in our first town hall, which I hope that this is the first of many, so that we can continue to talk through bigger topics in our community. And so I just think that it's really important for our community to understand some of the work that has been done through the pandemic, through 2020, because I think that it's really just a misnomer to think that because we were working from home and not physically in our offices that we were not doing work during this time. So I just wanted to point out that we oversaw work on the Justice Center, and we had $285,000 worth of grant dollars going towards the work on that project that we had overseen. $697,000 in coronavirus relief funds, the $400,000 for the county manager position. We were awarded $50,000 for a transit study. We've done a child care strategic planning initiative that has resulted in an advocacy group with Build a Generation, and a collaborative partnership with the Lake County School District to increase our capacity for early childhood education, and daycare for our families that are in the workforce and struggling to get back into the workforce because our only licensed daycare facility has closed. Overall, we worked on our COVID response in partnership with regional partners. We were able to work with Summit County commissioners to set up testing sites that were open and eligible for Lake County residents in Summit County that worked in Summit County, and made that available to them while they were at work, and they didn't have to make arrangements to come home to get tested, but made testing more available and easily accessible to them. We applied for and were unsuccessful in further grant dollars from the underfunded fund for the courthouse and justice center facility because the county doesn't have formal management structure to see that project through to fruition. And so some of the feedback that we had received from them was that we did not have the ability to get the high dollar amount that we had applied for to continue that planning and design work because, quite frankly, they're tired of starting over with us. So that's kind of some of the highlights of the things that we've done in 2020 and in 21. Not to also mention that now we are moving fast and furious on doing our homework with affordable housing, deed restrictions and funding mechanisms, community wildfire protection and prevention and planning. And so these things are all still happening. It's just taking us a very long time to get some of that off the ground.
I'll just be very brief. It's late. We've all been in the hot room for a while. I mean, just thank you everyone for showing up, but whether here or on Zoom, taking a lot of time. A lot of people were at the Monday meeting and stayed afterwards to chat individually. So you know, I hope even if we don't agree that you are beginning to feel a little more heard than perhaps you felt in the past. And just thank everyone for, you know, wherever you are on this issue and issues that we tackle in next town halls. You know, thanks for weighing in and trying to make this a better place.
Absolutely. Thanks everyone for being here. And there are upcoming town halls actually scheduled from Excel and others, but keep a lookout for the calendar in the paper for our next conversation and reach out. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you.